you're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Rise and Shine Manitoba is brought to you by AETI Evolve Green and Fabricland Winkler. As you can see there, my screen was cropped. I figured out a way to uncrop it. I guess this is the first time you're all seeing my new background here. The reason this is happening right now in the Forsyth household, we are having some COVID-19 issues. My father has COVID-19 right now, so he is using the room I usually record in to isolate. So this is the reason the background's a bit different here. But wow, I usually can't really see outside clearly, but I got my front window open, looking at it right now. A lot of snow is coming down here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. A huge snowstorm hitting the province here of Manitoba, which I heard that we haven't seen a storm like this for a very long time. I'll be talking about the snow later on, just how crazy it is in Graham's opinion. We got a great show lined up for you all today on this Wednesday morning on Manitoba's show. Joining me first is going to be Gordie Tumilson on the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment to talk about Pilot-Mound's recruiting to this point, the development camps coming up this month, as well as talking about newly acquired head coach and assistant general manager of the U18 male Buffaloes, Billy Keane, who you guys saw the interview I did with him last week on the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But yeah, going to be great to have Gordie on to talk about that coming up shortly. After Gordie leaves the show, I'm going to have Executive Director of Basketball in Manitoba on Adam Wedlake to give us the updates of what's been happening here in basketball in Manitoba. But without further ado, folks, let's run the intro of today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Hopefully you're inside, staying warm, staying away from this wicked blizzard out here today, because it is going to be a good one. So relax, sit back, and you know what it's time to do, folks. Once I raise the mug and play the intro, it's time to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on Rise and Shine Manitoba on April 13th, 2022 on ASTV Productions. It's been too long since I've seen this guy, Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, joining Rise and Shine Manitoba show on this Wednesday morning. Gordie, great to have you on the show on another Wednesday. I talked to one of the newest members of the Buffaloes last week. Instead of you, newest member of the Buffaloes coaching family, head coach of the male U18 team and assistant general manager of that team, Billy Keane, obviously bringing in a coach with a lot of talent, with a lot of experience coaching in many different places. Talk about just the addition to the new coaching staff, adding a guy like Billy Keane to the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy.
Well, guys like Billy Keane just don't come along every day for us, for anybody for that matter. He's got a ton of experience. You know, he's a guy that's been around Manitoba in hockey forever. University, the rink program up in OCN. He's got his own hockey camps and whatnot for 30 years. He's been developing players forever, knows everybody, and to have the opportunity to land him was big for us. And I congratulate both Billy and our management group for locking in and making this happen. It can only be a good thing. Coaching wise, he's a learned guy. He's a teacher, and that'll be super for the kids. He's got patience, and he likes our program. He had 6 of our boys up in OCN while he was there, so it's a good fit that way. And then, of course, he's got a lot of managerial experience. He was also the GM up in OCN and managed in other places, and so there's no fooling him. He's a guy that knows all the ins and outs. We just expect great things to happen, and that may lead us to recruiting. But that's the first thing on the agenda, is to get the best kind of hockey teams we can put together here in the next 4 months before the August 1st imposed deadline for the coaches to get their players in line and get them signed.
Speaking about the recruiting process, the scouting process, what's that been like for yourself working with Billy Keane so far on that, trying to recruit players in here for this U18 male team?
Well, Billy's been with us for a week, so it hasn't been a long time, but he went right in. I mean, he knows where to go and who to talk to. He's got a gazillion friends in the program, and so he knows exactly what it takes to land people. And I know he was in meetings last week with all of our other coaches. So he's got a dual role. He's got to pick his own players on the U18 team, and he's also got he's being paid to help out the other guys and gals. So he's got a multitasking opportunity here, and he's jumped right in. Again, he knows who to talk to, where the kids lay, and the good news is that people know who he is, and that's a good thing for us. And people in Manitoba in particular know who Billy Keane is, and they know his success, and they know what kind of person he is, and so this all bodes well for us in terms of attracting players and parents knowing that they're going to a place that's credible.
I want to talk about one more thing about Billy Keane, and then we'll move on to some other things here. But when I was talking with Billy last week, he said that his focus would be to bring in as many Manitoba players as he can to keep it a local product. Obviously, he said he's not opposed, obviously, to bringing players in from other places. But how huge is that for small-town Pilot-Mound, for this academy to have a coach like this coming in with his experience and emphasizing local first?
Well, he's a local guy, and he's well known locally, and that's kind of an advantage that we didn't have before. Most of our folks are not as well known as he is in terms of local hockey in Manitoba. So he has a good line on people. He's been sort of researching the last number of years. He's been continually researching the age category that we're right in. I mean, this is where he's been. Kids graduating into junior, and he's been in the program for those kids. So him knowing the kids and knowing that there's a lot of good kids, and he knows the programs that they're in and maybe coming from, and that's important. He's able to, I guess, maybe put our best foot forward and maybe discuss what is different about our program versus what's going on with the other guys. And ours is a niche program. There's no question. We're a full-time 10-month 24/7 program, which is different than the Winnipeg kids. For anybody in Manitoba, everybody else is go home at night to your family pretty much. There's a few billets going on, but so it's different, and he'd be able to promote that differently than and maybe certainly more successfully than our guys have up to this point. So good. I love to have 20 kids from Manitoba playing for us. Now, Manitoba kids are courageous, they're tough, they work hard, they know what it's all about. So yeah, we don't have a problem with that. That'd be great.
Let's dive into the scouting and recruiting process now for the rest of the academy. What's been like so far in the stages where Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy is at in the recruiting and scouting process?
Well, we're a week ahead of Billy. He's been going at it 1 week. We've been going at it for 2 full weeks, and we have 3. I know we have at least 3 scouting websites that we go to. regularly. And that's important to Scout Vid, Elite Profiles, and and NCSA out of the States. So we're connected to sites where players have put themselves up as wanting to look at opportunities. And so our coaches are all of us, I guess 9 of us are checking into those kinds of things now. And we have a number of scouts out as well. So we've got scouts that have been looking for people, and now they're starting to talk to those people because they can. Kind of a April 1st startup time. So that's where we're at. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of names. We're going to have lots of names. We've got all the draft choice kids that have come up through last year, this year, kids that are going to be drafted, so that we're sure that we're getting good quality kids in terms of their play. Part of our course process is finding out if they need 10 months of schooling, and if they're good kids coming into us. We don't aspire to take people who have got issues, and so we want to get good kids that want to play hockey and learn at school, and hunker down to those and get into the community. Those are the 3 things that we work on, and that's who we look for.
Speaking of the recruiting scouting process, obviously Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy will be hosting evaluation camp soon, starting on April 18th. That will be the male 05 to 09 age group category in terms of when those players are born. But talk about this evaluation camp. Is the registration still open? I know on the Twitter, the first post went out on April 3rd.
Yeah, it's still open. We've got our first evaluation camp on the 18th, and then subsequently, if you go on the website, pilotmound.hockeyacademy.com, we've got all. Thanks, Graeme. We've got all of those things happening, and so yeah. But the 18th is still open. I think we've got about 15 kids signed up for the 18th. That's Monday, Easter Monday. With a little bit of extra skate on the 17th in the evening if they want to get out to Pilot-Mound and haven't been on the ice maybe for a week or 2. Yeah, and then the rest of the camps are on, and we look forward to having between 20 and 40 kids in each age category out to show what they want. And then, of course, they come and see what the rink looks like, what the town looks like, what amenities we have, and we've got and so it's kind of we check you out, you check us out, and it works really well. People are surprised at the facility, the arena in particular, the quality of the facility and the theater. We've got all kinds of stuff in there that you can't believe when you get there for a small town, of course. And then we've got the $2 million plus dormitory being built, and it's the skin is on, the guts are being put in, so that's a bonus for us as well. Yeah, so it's all of that's packaged up into one big nice deal for the kids when they show up, mums and dads. And we've got kids coming from West Virginia, New York, Los Angeles, Rankin Inlet. We've got people coming from everywhere. So it's not just local kids that come in. They fly in because they really want to check this out. We've got a pretty good reputation, and folks want to find out what we're really all about. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to the evaluation camps.
Yeah, and to have that many kids flying in from different places, not just being local, like you said, is huge for Pilot-Mound. And of course, as you can see, folks, on the bottom of the screen, check it out. Pilot-Mound-hockeyacademy.com is where you can find the information on the evaluation camps. But talking about that, Gordie, just not having local kids in this camp, like you said, in these camps, how huge is that truly? And how long has this been going on since we've been seeing many more people coming from not locally, but from outside of the province to fly in?
Yeah, we've got a lot of local kids. It's not that we don't. We do have, and however, because of the stay-at-home arrangement that goes on in Winnipeg in particular, maybe because of the rink deal in St. Mary's and Balmoral on the girls' side, we've not had as many of the top-end kids come to us from Manitoba. That being said, we've had tremendous number of Aboriginal kids come from northern Manitoba, which has been a bonus for us. Those guys and gals, they seem to all be pretty darn good, and they all end up going to college and junior A. So it really works out for them to get to, into our place. But coming from other places, we've been able to attract kids that are looking for something different. Maybe they've been shunned a little bit locally in terms of their own hockey programs. Sometimes there's politics in hockey, unbelievably so, and so they're looking for something different. They find us, and they find out that the community side, the discipline side, the human side is really up front and first class, and that's what they like. And so we've been able to attract a lot of kids on that regard as well.
Well, we'll have more discussion about the evaluation camps that Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy will be running starting on April 18th. So starting up next week. But Gordie, one last thing before I let you go here. There was a curling bonspiel recently in Pilot-Mound. There were some Buffaloes helping out. Take us through that. What exactly went down with some good old curling at that moment.
Well, the curling guys took over the arena ice as well. They have their 4 sheets in the curling side, so they had 8 sheets of ice going. It was a full slate of teams that got out to play, and good and great. My son is a heck of a curler. He prefers the big stone pucks versus their little rubber pucks that I played with. But at the end of the day, and it's a community event, so they look for volunteers like every other sport does. Look for volunteers to help out, and our kids were happy to join in and be involved and take and many of them have never curled before. I mean, they got on the ice and curled a little bit themselves before the event happened. And then got involved in line judging and registration and all kinds of different things. It was fun for them. They've got a lot of energy, and we couldn't practice hockey, so we may have turned out a whole whack of new good curlers this way after this. They're all athletes, so they can do anything.
Well, there you go. If it goes south, if it goes wrong for these players playing hockey, they might have a future in curling. I love watching curling. It's awesome that these kids from Pilot-Mound got to help out, and I would bet that they'd say that it's not as easy as it looks, as I found out the one time I curled.
Yeah, well, it's a hard game. Sliding around and ending up on your back like a turtle that was what I found to be the most exciting part of the game. So being able to throw the rock and look like a curler is maybe the hardest thing in the world to do. So there you go, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, look like a curler. You're halfway there. Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, joining Rise and Shine Manitoba on this Wednesday morning. Gordie, until we see you again next week to talk more about Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, what's happening during this offseason, the recruiting process, and talking more about the evaluation camps, probably some other things in there as well. You take care, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks, Graeme. Look forward to it.
Gordie Tumilson on this edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Looking forward to talking to Gordie about the recruiting process for this academy as it continues to go along here in the off season. Those recruitment camps coming up, those development camps, and as well as some other things as well moving forward here on the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment. So we're going to take a commercial break for the first. Coming up next here on the show, it's going to be Adam Wedlake joining this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba to talk about the latest things happening here in basketball in Manitoba. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba show on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after this commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you, with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. You guys just heard from Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy. He'll be joining the show again next week to continue talking about the academy's recruiting process, as well as the development camps coming up and some other many things, as well as I'm sure I'll ask Gordie about some many other things for Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy coming up next week. Of course, it is April 13th, 2022, and we're in the midst of a historic storm right now. I heard that we're supposed to get somewhere up between 30 to 50 centimeters of snow here in Manitoba. So not fun here in April to see this weather. Hopefully everyone is staying safe and doing well on this Wednesday morning. Comment down below if you can, if you want to comment your thoughts about this crazy storm we're seeing in Manitoba. I'm looking at it right now. Right outside my window across from me. It's pretty darn nuts. But joining me on the show now, looking like he's staying nice and warm, nice and safe on this Wednesday morning, is Adam Wedlake. Adam, I got to get your thoughts on this storm to start off on this Wednesday.
Yeah, morning, Graeme. Yeah, it's always just think that winter's over and we're kind of turn the curve and spring is here, but then bang, we're back to where we were. It feels like it's November all of a sudden. So yeah, it's definitely throws a wrench into the day. But I guess we've been warned enough the last 3, 4, or 5 days. It seemed that they were saying it was coming, and everybody thinks that it's going to blow by us or it's going to be over hyped. Not really. It looked like that up until last night, and now bang, here it is.
Yeah. Well, Mother Nature maybe take offense to those who say it. It won't be that bad. We're looking at it right now. It's pretty brutal outside. Hopefully, for everyone that is traveling on the roads, they are able to stay safe. But speaking of the storm, this relates to one of the first questions I'll ask you here today. The Basketball Manitoba Awards for graduating All-Star games this Saturday at Sport Manitoba. Of course, weather pending with this, but dive into this event, what it holds in store for these graduates.
Sure. Yeah, it's of course all the best laid plans can easily come to a screeching halt. We've learned that sadly the last 2 years with other other things we won't mention that have caused a nice delay. This is scheduled to go this Saturday at Sport Manitoba. It's the first since 2019 we've been able to put this event on in person. It's a culmination and a wrap up of the recent high school season in Manitoba that just finished back in March. So what it does is what we do is we, with the feedback of the community, different levels of coaches and so on, seek nominations and voting actually for a variety of different levels of recognition, right from the 4A level, which is typically the Winnipeg, Brandon, Winkler, Steinbach schools, the 3A, 2A, 1A levels, which going into smaller communities all around Manitoba, north, south, east, and west. And so what we do with those 4 different levels is we recognize a group of 2 all-star teams per division. Those games are set to go this Saturday afternoon at Sport Manitoba. We've got the 1, 2, and 3A games happening at 1 o'clock, boys and girls side by side on 2 courts. And then the 4A games will follow that at 3 o'clock. Again, all weather permitting or pending. If and when we were to cancel, we already do have a backup in the works that we'll announce in our circles to those that need to know once if and when that happens. So we're kind of just waiting to see how these next 24 hours play out. being that majority of people that coming to this event are from outside of Winnipeg, we have to be mindful, of course, of it may be easy to say, oh, Winnipeg streets, you can get down there, no problem. But if a majority of people coming from outside and highway travel, especially if highways are closed, which I know some of them are even closing as we speak, it doesn't help, of course. But regardless of that, we'll still pull it off in some fashion. And but then also throughout the day, normally we do have a banquet that coincides with that. And unfortunately, we had to pull the plug on that a few months ago when the health restrictions were still not too favorable, and we had to make some calls to make that decision, which puts this event off, an in-person event, to recognize these other athletes and coaches, to just basically be a virtual announcement through our web and social media platforms. And those include things like our players of the year at those different levels I mentioned, coaches of the year, the all Manitoba teams, which is the top 5 to 10 players, boys or girls, at a given classification. And then a variety of different scholarships and other service awards and recognition for people who had outstanding seasons just this last year. So we're excited to have it back, because it's been a long 3 years. Crazy to think that we've not had this, or a version of this, since 2019. This was one of our first events that fell back in March of 2020 when the pandemic first kicked in. So it was one of the first that had felt the brunt of the last 2 years. So, but we'll get it off, and Mother Nature has a different opinion of when it'll happen. We'll pull it off in the next 10 days, I hope, but hopefully this Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully it is able to happen. It sounds like a fantastic event put on by Basketball Manitoba. Speaking of just the high school leagues, of course, like you said, they've wrapped up at this point. I saw that. I was watching CTV, actually, and they were doing a story on a team. I forget who it was, but they were talking about their provincial championship that they won. Just talk about, how provincials went and how the leagues ended up wrapping up this year for the high school season.
Well, yeah, it was a good, great year to get off, and after a full pause year, so it was definitely worth seeing these athletes who have had a tough go in not having any outlet for basketball the last year prior to this. So it was still a little bit fractured. Some tournaments were limited throughout the season, and some overnight travel was still not 100% back. But all the provincial championships at the various different levels through March were able to be put into play at the high school level. And so yeah, it was exciting to see basketball back, and just like most every other sport, kind of almost normal. But I guess people know this and understand that just because as soon as the health orders say yes, you can go, and they say, all right, no more restrictions, that this and this are now been changed or relaxed, or now recommendations, it doesn't just happen overnight. Probably our biggest challenge we're still facing, even to this day, minus the weather, just in general, is access to facilities is still something that's slowly returning. School division, there's a multiple number of different school divisions, and each have a slightly different spin or priority on getting their doors open again to the public. And I understand that for sure, but it's definitely puts added pressure on, because people have there's an upswell of people who want to play and get involved with our sport, and I'm sure just like every other sport, that are feeling that urge to get back, and be it they're very young or even very old adult leagues that have been hampered. So yeah, it's exciting to see that we're getting there, and I guess next season, touch wood, that the 2022-23 season would be hopefully without any restriction, or other than just some recommendations to, of course, stay home if you're not feeling well, and keep your hands clean, and wear a mask if you feel that's needed, kind of stuff, and people stay vaccinated as they stay eligible. So or as that rolls out, so just to keep this under control, but not having to be in a complete shutdown mode. It's never fun for anybody or anything.
Well, let's move over to basketball in Manitoba for a moment and talk about some pro sports here. The Toronto Raptors back in the playoffs this year, obviously huge when I guess they're considered Canada's team because they're the only team here in Canada. But I mean, how huge is that to have the only pro team here in Canada at the highest league possible, the NBA, back in the playoffs, in terms of just what that does for, people aspiring to get into basketball, seeing this Raptors team in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's always exciting to see. And like you said, the Raptors are our lone NBA presence. There was the Vancouver Grizzlies that started back when the Raptors started in the mid '90s. That sadly didn't last. They're now in Memphis under the same team name. So yeah, definitely the Raptors are seen and are treated as Canada's team, very similar to the Blue Jays. So when the Blue Jays do well, baseball in Canada does well generally. I think that there's definitely a shot of interest and attention, and the Raptors are no different. So I've been around long enough that I started actually in 1995 with Basketball Manitoba, the year the Raptors joined, and I was around the game prior to that, just as a player and coach and other things. And I've definitely seen that their presence. It didn't come out gangbusters. It was still a new entity and different. But over the probably that first 10 years, once they started doing big things, and they had some big name players like a Vince Carter or others that really drew more attention to the team and has really sparked. And then of course 2019 when they won the World Championship, first ever for a non-American NBA team to win. There's only one, so I guess it was bound to be the Raptors. Not that there's NBA teams around the world, but that was amazing. That really, we saw our numbers of participants that fall jump in some capacities 25, 30, 35% just in 1 year. And it was the Raptor bump, call it what you want. It was definitely huge. And of course that they've they reached that pinnacle in 2019, and they've had a couple of changes, a couple of players move, but their coach remains the same, Nick Nurse, who's actually Canada's national team coach. And so that's been a nice connection to for having Coach Nurse lead Team Canada during Olympic runs and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's always exciting to see, and it just adds more attention to our sport in Manitoba here. It definitely has an impact, and the longer they stay active and how far they go in the playoffs, say if they're a Cinderella team and go all the way to the championship final again, that would be amazing. I happened to be in Toronto during one of those games. We had our national meetings in Toronto, and that would have been in May. I think it was May, or I guess probably June of 2019. And the buzz in the city and the streets, I've never actually been a part of that one. Like, you look at probably 20 city blocks of Toronto were just jam packed full of people after games that they had won. And it was amazing to feel that our sport in Canada, which is often taken a sort of a second or third seat to other sports that get a lot of attention, deservedly so, hockey, soccer, other ones, to see that buzz and sort of that, how it sort of, I guess, captured the attention of the country for those periods. And then of course that's what we want to see. It's great for the moment, but it's fleeting, because you're only a world champion for the year, and then it starts all over again. You can't live in the past. But it was super exciting to see the bump we saw in participation across the board, men, women, boys, girls, coaches, referees, all that. I think really saw some excitement. So yeah, it was hopefully we can repeat that again. It's not a one-off.
Yeah, no doubt. And I will say one thing: I love cheering for Canadian basketball teams. Just wish it wasn't in Toronto, with the way the Toronto sports media is. But that's a conversation for another day. Getting back into Manitoba basketball now. The Manitoba Basketball Club Championships coming up in May. It is April still, but May will be here before we know it. Give us an update on what that is about.
For sure, it's an annual event again that's been put on the sidelines for since 2019, so it'll be 3 years since we had our last one. But club teams in Manitoba, how they operate is it's a lot of the times they're an extension of a school team or an independent team that just forms at a variety of ages. Typically, it's around 12 to 18-year-olds that are involved, and usually we see about 100, 120 teams in the event that we host. So it's sort of the top level club teams at these various ages. This year will be a little bit smaller. I mentioned earlier about some of the impacts we're still dealing with facility access. So it's not 100% back, but we're going to max out as many facilities as we can. Typically, we have 12 games happening at a given moment. This year will probably be about 9. So it's about 75% of its capacity that we normally run is what we're expecting. But it's a great weekend of competition for teams that may not see each other a whole lot. We draw a lot of teams in from around Manitoba, even beyond. Teams from Saskatchewan and Ontario as well come into this. Again, just for that added experience to compete against some different teams that you may not see. You're probably often seeing, just like a lot of sports will see, teams that you play the same team over and over and over because they're sort of in your neighborhood or convenient for geography wise. But this allows other teams to see other teams from around Manitoba or even beyond. So it's a great event for us, and we're excited to get back after a long pause here. It feels like forever since we've had it, and everything is barring some, I won't even say it, some winter blast in middle of May. I don't know if that's possible, but 2022 here, where anything can happen, I guess. We got to prepare for the worst and hope for the best, I guess is the saying. So we're confident everything will be right.
Yeah, you don't know nowadays if there'd be a blizzard in May, like you said. That would be kind of crazy to see. Hopefully it doesn't happen and basketball can run smoothly here in the province of Manitoba. But a bit of some interesting news here. After 30 years, the U of W Westman women's basketball coach is stepping down. Give us some insight into that. What went into that decision for whoever that coach is, who the coach is, and just tell us about that. This coach stepping down after 30 years.
Sure. Yeah, that's Coach Tanya McKay, who's been the women's basketball coach at the University of Winnipeg for head coach, I think, for 26 years. She was an assistant prior to that. She actually played for that same team in the 1980s. So she's been here for almost her whole life. She's actually a native of Halifax. Was recruited out here to play for the Westmen in the mid to late 80s. Had a stellar career. She's actually a member of our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame. She was an All-Canadian in her years as a player, and then transitioned in the coaching roles and ranks. And the team that she just led, or I guess her soon-to-be former team, just 2 weekends ago, made it to the national final, which was the first time since 2005, I believe it was. So a good run of not getting to a national championship. Just did it with the Westman squad. A majority of those players, in fact, I think all the players are almost all from Manitoba. So definitely was nice to see our Manitoba athletes and Coach McKay get it to the national championship. Unfortunately, it didn't end with a Cinderella final or finish that we were all, of course, cheering for back home. And the team, of course, fell short to the Ryerson Rams, which is out of the University of Ryerson, is in downtown Toronto. So unfortunately, it didn't end in that as much as everybody wanted to see. But yeah, Coach McKay is shortly after that, just last week, made the announcement public that she's going to be stepping down as the Westman women's coach and heading to Dalhousie University, which is in Halifax. So she's actually heading home to most likely wrap up her coaching career, I guess, on the home front, even though this is probably would be deemed her home because she's probably lived in Manitoba longer than even Halifax. But I guess home is home, and family and friends and whatnot are probably still there. And I guess there was an opportunity to still stay active in coaching, but then head home and sort of finish a coaching career, which has been very, very successful. And Tanya's, it's more than just wins and losses. She's hugely involved in our basketball community. So it's more than just seeing a position open and a new coach come in. But Tanya's been super active, super involved, right from being on our own board of directors to presenting in almost every one of our super coaches clinics that we host every fall, to running different club programs, coaching our provincial team. She actually led Manitoba to our first in many generations national championship in 2014 with our provincial Manitoba provincial team 17U program. Funny enough, or sort of a nice twist, of course, that a lot of those players that she coached in 2014 on our provincial team, which were younger, of course, at the time, have now found their way and were part of this Westman team that sort of reached that same pinnacle. Didn't break that edge and got that title, but a lot of those players loved her back in 2014 with that national championship run, and stuck with her. This is almost 8 years later, and are still playing for her. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a void. And Tanya's a fantastic, wonderful person, and one that will of course keep in touch. But she'll have a new life and new responsibilities and new focus in Halifax. And of course, we wish her well with everything, the next front of her next twist of her coaching career and opportunities there out east. And of course, we're looking forward to working with the new coach. There's only 6 positions like this in Manitoba, 2 at the UW, 2 at the U of M, and 2 at Brandon University that are at this level. So when changes like this happen, they're pretty rare, and when they do happen, it definitely makes an impact on the community. So yeah, it's on the front there.
And yeah, just taking a look at the story here, McKay saying that her decision being a personal one, it's time for her to go home and be there for her parents. That's what she said, paraphrasing that. If you guys want to check out the full story, be sure to check out down below here, as you can see on the screen, basketballmanitoba.ca, for not only that full story on Tanya McKay's decision to step down, but as well as staying up to date with all news, everything to do with Basketball Manitoba. Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, Adam Wedlake, joining Manitoba show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, on this Wednesday morning. Adam, until we do this again, until about 2 weeks from now, can't wait to hear about all the other great stuff that Basketball Manitoba has going on then. Until then, Adam, you take care, and thanks again for joining the show today.
Sure. You bet, Graeme. We'll see you soon.
And always great getting to be joined by Adam Wedlake, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, here on the network with some great updates for us. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks from now, as Adam will be back on the show to talk more about what is happening with basketball in the province of Manitoba. As the snow continues to fall here on this Wednesday morning, it's time to take a commercial break. For this next part of Rise and Shine Manitoba, I'm going to be diving into this week's edition of Graeme's Opinion, talking about Game 1 of the MMJHL, which stands for Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League Finals, Game 1 that went down on Sunday night between the St. James Junior Canucks and the Pembina Valley Twisters. I'll have my thoughts on that game coming up, as I was in attendance for it, as well as my thoughts on the current snowstorm that is hitting Manitoba. And as well as talking about why I think the NCAA Frozen Four men's hockey tournament should get more coverage here in the country of Canada. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba show here on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after some messages from our sponsors here on ASTV. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Joining me most recently on the show was Adam Wedlake, Executive Director of the Basketball Manitoba, giving us an update on what's been happening in Manitoba basketball here since the last time that I spoke with him. Great to have Adam back on the show. He was battling COVID-19, so this was his first appearance on the show in a while. Hoping to have him back in 2 weeks here to bring us more news, more coverage on what's been going on here in basketball in Manitoba. But started off today's episode interviewing Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, on this week's edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment. If you are watching this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on our website, amateursports.tv. We have a new media player. So if you're watching the show right now and want to go back to watch that interview I did with Gordie, or if you want to watch the most recent interview I did with Adam Wedlake, you can now rewind our broadcasts, our shows, and anything that we're recording. If we are recording it on our website, amateursports.tv, if it does go to there, which it always does, you can now, rewind live broadcasts and rewind to any part you want while this show goes live, which is pretty cool. But it's time now to dive into this week's edition of Graham's Opinion. And on this week's edition of the show, I'm going to be talking about some junior hockey as well as the snow here in Manitoba and why college hockey should get more coverage in Canada. But let's start off with the St. James Junior Canucks and Pembina Valley Twisters. Game 1 went 3 days ago on Sunday night at the Bell MTS Iceplex. The Canucks, their home rink for the finals, as it seems on the schedule, as all games are to be played for their home games at Bell MTS Iceplex. But they were able to come away with a 5-4 win to open up the series with a 1-0 lead in the best of 7 final series in the MMJHL. And for St. James, they come into this series as the first place team in the league. They finished first place in the regular season. For the Pembina Valley Twisters, they coming into this series as the third place team in the league. They were able to defeat the Fort Garry Twins in the first round in 5 games, as well as the Transcona Railer Express in 6 games, as the Twisters were able to finish off that series to make it to the next round last Friday for the St. James Junior Canucks. While they've only suffered 1 loss so far in the playoffs, and that came in Game 1 of their semifinal series against the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. They swept the Charleswood Hawks in the first round. But for the Canucks, they were up 5-1 after the first 40 minutes of this game. The Twisters came back and scored 3 in the third, cutting the lead down to 5-4. They scored 2 goals on the power play, but it wasn't enough to come back and tie up the game against the Canucks. So talking about the strengths and weaknesses for both teams, starting off with the winning team, the St. James Junior Canucks, I'd say their strengths offensively was just attack in the middle with speed as well. They weren't afraid to get into the dirty areas, getting traffic in front, and that resulted in some good things. Also resulting in some good things in the offensive zone is just defensemen like Rory Neal, Brady Whitley, all their defensemen getting active into the play, jumping into the play, creating more of a threat with that 5-man attack in that offensive zone. Did a good job on the back check as well. They rarely got burned from what I saw of being so aggressive. And I mean, this team worked around well on the power play as well. They only had 1 power play goal, but they were getting some good looks on the power play in this game. Defensively, I felt the St. James Junior Canucks team in this Game 1 did a very good job of staying disciplined for most of the game in the defensive zone, in terms of just staying assignment sound, taking away the lanes, the shooting lanes, passing lanes, doing a good job of taking away space in the house, which is the high quality scoring area of the slot, and forced a lot of low percentage chances to good active sticks, even when this team might have gotten beat, might have had the Pembina Valley Twisters players getting a bit of a step on them. They were able to get back into position by just a bit, getting sticks into the active lanes, making it tough on this team to get some high quality shots on Noah Gilbert. Of course, in the third period, they gave up 3 goals, but 2 of them came on the power play. So just talking about the weaknesses in this game, for the Canucks, I'd say that they just got a bit complacent as this game went along, especially in the third period, almost blowing a lead. Of course, they got into some penalty troubles, but they were getting beat more in the defensive zone, not as clean breaking out, and really it resulted in some good things for the Pembina Valley Twisters when this Canucks team ended up getting complacent. But for them, I feel like their key heading forward in this series is just keep playing the way you were playing when you were controlling the play, getting shots on net, getting good opportunities, because this Canucks team, when they turn it on, it's very hard for teams to beat them, and we've seen this in the playoffs so far. Only 1 team has beat them so far, and that was the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, and after they beat them, they ended up losing 4 straight to lose that series. One of those games ended up being 15-1 in favor of the Canucks. So for the Canucks, just keep playing their game, keep doing what they're doing, attacking the middle offensively, getting that good 5-man attack as well, and just forcing Pembina Valley to make mistakes as well, I think will be huge for the Canucks to be able to win this series. Of course, keep getting some good goaltending from Noah Gilbert as they have throughout the playoffs. And yeah, I think things should go pretty well for this Canucks team. Talking about the Pembina Valley Twisters, and for them, they got better as this game went along. The first period was a bit rough for them as well. They gave up 5 in the first 2 periods, but this team offensively, talking about their strengths, doing a good job of working the puck down low, getting in tight, getting some chances there, utilize the speed to win those puck races, getting good forecheck as well as this game went along. And good work on the power play, opened up the Canucks PK with some good puck movement, traffic in front, which resulted in some good things, 2 power play goals in the third period. Defensively, as this game went along, they tightened up, I found. Got some chances on the PK as well with the aggressive PK that they were showing out there, sending the players out of the zone, chase down the pucks. In terms of the weaknesses, felt like in the first 20 minutes of this game, and I feel like this got better as it went along. They were getting some better zone entries as the game went along, but a lot of icings, rush decisions, couldn't handle the pressure put on by the Canucks, and that also led to some breakdowns. The Canucks getting in behind the D, getting some chances, some open people in the slot, not clearing away the rebounds, which resulted in the Canucks doing some good things. And also the Twisters, sometimes they would lose the open man, a guy that's open, and that resulted in some bad things for them. But for the Twisters, I mean, for them to have a good chance in the series, I just feel like you got to be able to survive the attack of the Canucks, right? I mean, you got to be able to withstand it as best as you can, because this team is loaded. They're very deep. I mean, they got Curtis Luke, who is leading the whole playoffs and scoring in. I feel like you just got to settle down with the puck just a bit. You were getting a lot of good, more opportunities when you weren't just dumping down the puck, icing the puck. Of course, you were getting in on the forecheck and winning races to those puck battles. But overall, for this Twisters team, I feel like the puck management throughout the series has to get better as it goes along. It got better as this game went along. The defensive zone has to be tight. They have to stay out of this penalty box, because even though this Canucks team didn't have the most success on the power play, they still ended up getting one, and they can work it around and really make you pay on that man advantage when they do have it, because they are so good at moving that puck around. And just for this Pembina Valley Twisters team, you need to continue fighting. You need to continue battling. You need to continue winning those puck races down low, getting in tight, get physical as well. And your big guns also have to step up. TJ Maciejewski has been the best player in the league all season long. He's been one of the best players in the playoffs as well. He's got to step up in this series especially and really get things going, because it's going to take a lot to beat the St. James Junior Canucks team for this Pembina Valley Twisters team. If they look the same way they did throughout the first 20 minutes of this game, throughout the first part of this game, it's not going to bode well for them. So game number 2 got canceled. It was supposed to be played tonight. Game number 2 will be going next Tuesday on April 19th due to the snowstorm. It will be going in Morris Multiplex. The Pembina Valley Twisters taking on the Transcon Railer Express. Not Railer Express, taking on the St. James Junior Canucks. Should be a lot of fun to see and watch that game wherever, whoever comes in and watches that game in Morris, Manitoba. Let's talk about the snow now, folks. How crazy is this? I hear that we haven't seen a storm like this in decades, and I haven't seen a storm like this in decades. In the month of April, crazy. We're getting about 30 to 50 centimeters of snow, as I heard. And yeah, I mean, it's just I'm trying to speak. Is this just a result of just the way the world is, where global warming is? I'm not too sure, but I don't think I've ever seen a storm like this in my lifetime at this time of the year. For everyone staying or who is driving on the roads, please stay safe. It is going to be pretty nasty out there driving. If you are outside, I recommend you get inside, because it is pretty darn crazy out there, pretty windy, and it's pretty snowy, of course, with the snow falling. And yeah, just in terms of, I've been hearing that apparently a lot of people are advising not to travel, and rightfully so. I assume they're going to be closing highways as well. And just to see the snow right here, I think that I speak for everyone. We're sick of the snow here in Manitoba. We've gotten enough of it. I'm hoping the power doesn't go out here in our house, but who knows with how crazy the storm is. So yeah, I mean, to see the snow here, hopefully it doesn't cancel some events that people have in place, like Basketball Manitoba. They'll have their stuff going on this weekend, potentially the All-Star games. Hopefully those don't get canceled. But yeah, I guess my biggest thing to telling people is just stay safe out there. If you absolutely have to go out and get essential items, I guess do that, but stay cautious on the road at all times. I think that's the most important thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if we will be getting some highway closures as well. 30 to 50 centimeters of snow is quite a bit. Hopefully we don't get anywhere higher than 30 centimeters of snow, but you never know. I heard this storm is supposed to be going until Friday, but yeah, let's or even into the weekend maybe. But yeah, comment your thoughts below, what you think about the storm here in Manitoba. Are you staying in, or are you embracing it and going outside? Yeah, it is interesting. I think I'm in the camp that I will be staying inside today on this Wednesday, and maybe for the next few days here, as trying to see this storm wind down a bit. It's pretty crazy, but the snow has been pretty continuous here, and it is pretty hard to see. So yeah, if you are on the road, stay safe out there. Visibility is going to be tough. Drive and proceed with caution if you do take the wheel on the road. But it's time now to talk about something to do with the snow. And of course, snow can make ice, and ice is that's where the game of hockey is played. And college hockey is, a level of hockey, the NCAA Division One. It's been a level of hockey that we're seeing more NHL players getting drafted more than ever since the first NHL draft in 1993. Apparently, there's been 185 college players drafted in the first round, representing 5 conferences and 28 Division I programs. Now, looking at this past draft in 2021, there was 56 players from the NCAA selected. 47 selections came on the Saturday of that draft throughout the rounds 2 through 7. Historically, last year, 5 of the top 10 players that were picked came out of the college ranks, and that was the first time that happened in NHL draft history. Now, since 2018-19, or in 2018-19, and I'm not sure if this number has risen or not. I just found this stat, and this is pretty interesting. A record of 327 former college players skated in the NHL in the 2018-19 season, comprising 33% of the league. And that number was just 20% of the turn of the century, apparently. Not too sure what that means, but for college hockey at the time, in short, according to this website that I found this info on, the fastest growing development path to the NHL. Which is crazy to see. And so in terms of what I'm talking about here, so just giving you the stats there, obviously college hockey has been growing. There's been a lot of key players that have a lot of big players that have played in college. For example, I'll bring up a list right now. Of course, there's been Jonathan Toews from Winnipeg, Manitoba, that has played. Kyle Connor, who ended up playing for the University of Michigan, of course. Owen Power, number 1 overall selection, attended the University of Michigan and played there throughout his college career, as well as a guy like Kent Johnson as well. Mason McTavish. I mean, there's a lot of talent there, but we're talking about guys like Cale Makar as well, who I think is the best defenseman in the world right now. He played at UMass from 2017 to 2019. Adam Fox played at Harvard from 2016 to 2019. Charlie McAvoy from the Boston Bruins attended Boston University from 2015-17. Connor Hellebuck, Winnipeg Jets goaltender, came out of college from UMass Lowell. Jack Eichel only played 1 season, but Boston University 2014-15, Jack Eichel played there and was probably the most hyped up college prospect that one of at least that I've ever seen. Of course, there's Quinn Hughes, who played for Michigan, Johnny Gaudreau for Boston College, Max Pacioretty, who I didn't even know that he played college, Cole Caulfield as well, and Jeremy Swayman, and the list goes on. There's more players that have played. Ryan Donato played college as well. So it's a path that more and more players seem to be taking as well. And I think that college hockey is so exciting to watch, especially at the highest levels, especially if you're a college sports fan. If you do watch college sports, I've heard some people that they think college football is the most entertaining type of football. For me, myself, I mean, obviously the NBA is the biggest league in the world for basketball, but I enjoy watching March Madness college way better, because watching college kids for myself, college players, as I should say, is still, some of them are older than me, with me only being 20 years old. But at the end of the day, I mean, people tune in to watch college, and I feel like hockey fans, with college hockey and with there being a Frozen Four tournament, which is hockey's equivalent of March Madness, which is always so hyped up and always gets great viewership. I don't get why the viewership and why they're not trying to grow the game here at TSN in Canada, because hockey is the biggest sport, most popular sport here in the country. I would say that, in my opinion. But 2022, this past NCAA men's tournament, which aired across TBS, CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV, averaged 10.7 million viewers and a 17% share, the percentage of households of viewers that were watching at the television at the time, for its 67-game telecast, both up 13% over last year. But we look at, in Canada, a country that is hockey obsessed, hockey crazy, it's never really been broadcasted on the main TSN channels. It's usually broadcasted on the bonus channels for TSN. And that begs the question, why isn't this tournament getting broadcasted more, and why should it be? Now, I don't know why the tournament doesn't get broadcasted on the main channels here at TSN. I assume that it comes down to the rights that they might not have, but they still show the tournament on the bonus channel. So it is interesting to think about that. But in my opinion, I think that college hockey should definitely get more eyes on it here in Canada, even though it is U.S. teams like Michigan, Boston College, University of Minnesota, University of North Dakota. But for hockey players, for hockey fans, don't you want to see the future of the game, the best of the best, and some of the best players in the amateur hockey ranks play in college, as mentioned before. So with this tournament, with it being so hyped, with it being hockey's equivalent to March Madness, I think that there should definitely be more coverage on it, and TSN should be featured on their main channels, because you get to take a look at some players that could be some of the most impactful in the NHL at some point. I mean, you're talking about a guy like Cale Makar, who is the best defenseman in the league, in my opinion, who played at college, right? You're talking about the other guys too, of course. You got Kyle Connor, who has been, the Jets' best offensive player this year in terms of the points that he's produced, leading the Jets in points this season. Connor Hellebuck played there. I mean, the list goes on and on about how many great hockey players have come out of college. So why not broadcast it more here in Canada and TSN, we're hockey obsessed? I don't get it. I think that it should be a staple in the coverage of hockey throughout years of watching this tournament, because it is hype to see, the best of the best in college going at it for a national championship with only one game. The pressure gets significantly higher like that, exactly like March Madness, the way the tournament plays out. That gets a lot of viewership. I feel like this tournament would get a lot of viewership in Canada as well, and would do very well if it was broadcasted the right way. But hey, that's up to the decision of TSN. Can't do anything about it. Just got to sit back and hope and wish for something to change. But we'll have to wait and see come the tournament this time by next year. Congratulations to the University of Denver, by the way, for taking home this year's NCAA championship. But yeah, that's the winner who won. I'm sure you guys didn't even know that, because it wasn't even really broadcasted on TSN. But yeah, that's going to do it for Graham's opinion today, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed today's edition of the segment. Leave a like, leave a comment or a reaction. If you did, always love to hear feedback on what you guys may want to see here on our shows on Rise and Shine Manitoba specifically. But coming up on Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, I'll be giving some final words here on this edition of Manitoba Show on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after the commercial break.
Hello, my name is Loretta Mitchell, owner of Evolve Green. And here at Evolve Green, we take the environment very seriously. We have a 10 kilowatt solar system that offsets our main facility by 75%, as well as maintaining natural prairie on our grounds. Our mission, creating renewables that work for you. I started Evolve Green in 2008 with a passion for the environment and wanting to change my corner of the world. And that remains the same today. Through design, consult, and installation, we provide renewable energy systems and storage integration. Here at Evolve Green, we help Canadians rethink power and storage to help fortify our children's future. To learn more, visit evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions, everybody. Hopefully you've all been having a wonderful Wednesday morning up until this point. This is where I say goodbye and sign off for another week on Manitoba Show. But before I do that, I'll be linking it in the description of this in the link of this description. I'll be linking the link in the description of this episode. There we go. Finally said what I wanted to say properly, of my mental health fundraiser, Graeme's mental health fundraiser, going up until May 10th. That is when it will stay up to. We've currently raised, I've currently raised, I guess, $237 going towards the Canadian Mental Health Association. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has donated up until this point, and everyone who has shared the link of my GoFundMe page in support of mental health, Graeme's mental health fundraiser. Of course, my views expressed in fundraiser are my views and my views only. They do not associate with ASTV Productions views on Bell Media. So yeah, there's still time to donate, everybody, up until May 10th. If you want to donate $1 or $100, it doesn't matter. Any amount truly does help. And if you don't want to donate, that's fine too, but sharing would be ideal in that case, because I do want to get more people donating, as many people donating as possible, because this money is truly going to a good cause. So if you do share, if you do donate, thank you so much. You don't know how much I actually do appreciate it. I can't even put it into words how much I appreciate the support that it's gotten already, even though it's way below the goal, which I set for $1,000. $237, any amount of money helps. So thank you to everyone who has donated so far. In terms of when Manitoba Show will return next, the next edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba will be coming to you guys next week on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You can catch it on our website at amateursports.tv, on our Facebook at astvproductions.com, on our Twitter at amateursportstv, and other places as well, Apple TV, Rugo, Amazon Fire. There's many places to watch this show and many others like Rise and Shine Manitoba here on the network. But yeah, the guest list for Rise and Shine Manitoba will be coming out next Tuesday night. Stay tuned for that on our social media pages where we release it, on our Instagram at ASTV Productions, our Facebook, and on our Twitter as well. But I want to once again thank Gordie Tumilson and Adam Wedlake for coming on today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba and being the guests. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in on this Wednesday morning as well. And I also want to thank the sponsors of Rise and Shine Manitoba for sponsoring another edition of the show in Fabricland, Winkler, Evolve Green, and AETI. And yeah, in terms of the storm, folks, hopefully everyone is doing well and staying safe on this Wednesday. Hopefully it settles down here in the next 3 days and we have a weekend full of fun outside, and it won't be snowing anymore, because we've had enough snow this year. I think it's time to stop, and I'm ready for the next time for there to be snow after this would be for next winter for me. But until then, folks, stay safe during this huge storm, this historic storm, as they're calling it here in Manitoba. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of your week, a wonderful weekend as well. So I always say, stay safe out there. Once again, I'll say it again, stay safe from the storm And until next Wednesday, folks, when I see you again on Manitoba Show, I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth, giving you the salute and the peace out on this Wednesday morning. Until next time, folks, we'll see you then. Take care, everybody.